Last year was the biggest year of our lives, and that's no exaggeration, because we finished 3 large HMO projects and that created homes for 27 people. And on top of that, we have another 6 big projects lined up.
Once everything is completed, our portfolio will sit at £6 million, and it will generate us $600,000 of income per year. And the crazy part is, it took us only 2 years to get here. 2 years that already puts us further ahead than most people will ever get. And in this video, we will share exactly how we did it.
Because what most people they don't see is the reality behind those numbers. They don't see that we wake up every morning at 4 a.m., the stress that we get from those projects, the headaches, the mistakes that we made, that we had to deal with all those contracts and other parties that gave us a lot of issues all the time and that we have to overcome every single day.
The lessons that costed us time, money, and sleep, but we pushed through all of it. And we came out last year stronger, more confident, and more mentally tougher than ever before.
So as we just said, we finished 3 large projects. It's 3 big HMOs, each one of them 9 bedrooms. Each one of them took us about 8 to 9 months to finish. And obviously got 9 bedrooms. Some of them they have a couple in one of the largest rooms. So I would say in total, we created accommodation for 27 people, which is amazing.
And of course, while we were finishing all these projects, we were securing a new project in place. And last year we secured 6 more projects. Some of them are already in the development, some of them are in full planning and going through last stages, waiting for approval so we can start work. So very soon we're gonna have 6 fully active developments in place. Of course, with the first 3 projects, our portfolio is at 2 million right now, which is amazing numbers to hear, especially after such a short time that we've been in it.
Yeah, of course, and also the projects that we now took on. So the first 3 projects is like terrace houses, but each one of them is terrace house. We did a loft conversion, and the new ones that we got, one of them is actually very big. So we bought 3 buildings side by side, and it's one big development that's going to happen. And that one will add another 20 rooms on top of that. So, we don't only added more properties to our portfolio, but also the size of the properties that we kept adding, they became bigger as well, which is amazing.
Yeah, we decided to try new strategies. We went into commercial to residential developments. And yeah, we just felt like we don't want to be stuck on developing same house again and again and again. So we just thought we're gonna try all the different strategies that are out there.
Yeah, so we did commercial resi, and also we had 2 of them which were grade 2 listed, and one of them was actually, so the 3 side by side are actually in a Arctic 4 area, which added another layer of complexity. But if you know us, we like a bit of a challenge, a bit of a risk. Keeps us pumped, right? Which is quite nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we started this actually, like Greta said, 2 years ago. It's actually not even 2 years, it's almost 2 years. So because before we actually started any of the works, we secured one of the first projects, but it took us like so many months to get the keys. So I would say the very first project was when?
We started last July, so it's a year and a half ago.
Yeah, year and a half, so it's not too bad.
So, but behind all these nice numbers, of course, there's endless amount of work involved. And what a lot of people don't really share or show, it's like we mentioned before, Daniel is waking up at 4 a.m. I'm waking up at 5 a.m. every morning. Daniel is still working full-time job every single day, and there is just so many little details involved and how we structure our day. For example, last year we actually completely sacrificed the gym, and we are 2 people who loves going to the gym. We used to go to the gym every single day, but last year, once all the projects start to come along together, we just realized we don't have time to spread for everything, so we have to sacrifice something, and that something was gym for us. And yeah, because we were just waking up early, working, then Daniil has his day job, we're making sure we're visiting the sites, meeting all the builders, making sure we're progressing on the new projects, and on top of that we have our 3-year-old daughter at home. So yeah, that's been
of course.
a
And
long
then
ride.
we also always on the lookout to find more investors, bigger projects, other projects that we can take on. And I think one of the nicest things is that Greta's mentality actually changed around this, because in the past she was always around, hey, we need to live in the moment, where, as you can hear, right, we're sacrificing a bit of our time because we're sacrificing the gym, and sometimes we don't spend too much time together, we're spending time on the business. But you give that up to build a better future. So we might give up now like 1 or 2 years, but in 2 years we'll be way better off than we were 2 years ago. And that's the thing that a lot of people, they don't really understand. They always want a very quick wins. Properties, it takes quite a bit of time to get to a level where you can start generating money and feel the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, definitely. It's not a get rich quick scheme, that's for sure, and it takes time. And like Daniil said, I feel like only now we started to feel the labor of our fruits, because only now we started to rent all 3 properties directly, one after another, so we rented our first property, then in a couple of months we finished the second one, and then in another month we finished the third one. And now you start to see that income and the money flowing in, and you feel like, wow, okay, like that's what we worked for. Where before that, all you do is work hard, work every day, work weekends, and you don't get paid. I think that's the hardest part for a lot of people, is to actually put a lot of work into something without actually getting paid, and stay motivated to keep working, for that delay gratification.
Yeah, one of the very important things is you need to really understand what your why is. Why are you waking up every morning at 4 a.m.? If you don't have that good reason for you, it will be hard, right? Because you will get a lot of stress, you get a lot of problems every single day. It's not that I want to wake up at 4 a.m., right? But I know exactly why I'm doing it, so it makes things for me easier. And that's something that you have to figure out yourself before you do any of it. So if that's one tip that you take away from this video, then it's make sure that your why is clearly defined and you know exactly why you're doing this.
Yes, exactly. And I think that applies to any business. It's not necessarily property, it's developing any business or any dream that you have. Obviously, like Daniil said, you need to know why you're doing it, why you're sacrificing your holidays, your weekends, your kids, anything else. It always come to, and on the lowest days when you feel like you don't feel like doing anything, that discipline and the reason behind it, why you're doing it, will be the main holding pillars for it.
And another very important thing is it's important to have a partner or someone to go back and forth with. So we have each other, and it does get very tough mentally with all of the issues of the neighbors or the contractors, the planning, finances, etc. There's so many moving parts and a lot of things that can go wrong, and they will go wrong. But if you have a partner who you work with, it makes things so much easier, and that's something I would definitely recommend. You can definitely do it on your own, and you have people in the community they can talk to or bounce ideas with, or have a mentor. But I guess for us, that was one of the elements that pushed this through, which was quite nice.
And I think it pushed us to the next level as well, as a couple, as a partners, as a business, just to see we give each other a different perspectives on things. And times when it's hard for me, Daniil pushes me through it, and maybe some other things looks more tough for Daniil, and I push him through it. And I think it's just that being together, brainstorming on things, and talking through things, and it's just so much easier. And a lot of people do sometimes with best friends, with the business partners. It's just when it's two of you, it's just so different to bounce on ideas, and something that is stressful for me not necessarily looks stressful for Daniil, and vice versa.
So one of the things that people they don't talk about enough is the actual truth behind what they show on social media. So a lot of people they show the nice things on social media, I finished the project or secured the project, this and that. But there's so much that goes behind it. And even our broker, the bridging brokers, they actually told us, hey guys, you guys make it look so easy. But then they know that behind the scenes what's happening because we talk to them every single day. One good example also is our accountants, right? So our accountants, they portray themselves very nicely online and they make themselves look like they're the big deal and they have the biggest clients. But then when we hired them, because of the social media, they actually couldn't do the work. They were not aligned with how fast we want to scale, because me and Greta, we want to grow fast and want to go big. And they were not aligned with it. They were making a lot of mistakes. And that cost us a lot of time, energy, and money. And I ended up doing a lot of the bookkeeping and a lot of the accounting myself, which is very frustrating because in the end, we hire them for that specific reason, so that can unlock my time, allow me doing things which I'm supposed to do and that can add value for us in the business. And this kind of things like an accountant or even like with the builders, right?
Yeah, I guess the online, it can make everything look so much more glamorous than it actually is. And I think one of the things that we learned the hard way, for example, we finished our first project. We finished completely ourselves. We fired our contractors. We were so fed up. We were not progressing fast enough. And of course, we have all these loans. Every single month counts. Every single day counts, actually. And we were so fed up. We were like, we need to finish it. And we end up just almost living in the property for a couple of weeks, morning to late evening. I mean, Daniel was laying floors, I was doing the painting, and it just was a wild ride. So
yeah, so it just goes back to what we said before around the amount of stress and headaches that you go through, because at one point we even had my parents to come and pick up Kaya. My mom picked up Kaya, took her to the Netherlands so me and Greta, we can finish the project. And I took holidays from work so we can finish it. A lot of people, they take holidays, they go to the beach. Me and Greta, we're finishing projects. We're working till the night on the project. So that's the reality behind it. So yeah, it might look nice online, but behind the scenes, there is sometimes a lot of work that goes behind it. But then again, it's something that you will learn over time. It's not only a negative thing, because even with the contracts that we had online, they had a lot of good reviews. They had 10 out of 10, hundreds of reviews that they were good contracts, but then they couldn't even finish the job. So then we fired them, so it's just a reality. Sometimes you just have to step in and you will build a relationship, especially when you're starting off in this industry. You have to create those relationships and see who is actually a good person as a contractor or a painter or electrician. You learn from that, and then you keep that team as a core around you. And that's the most important, because then the headache goes away.
And I feel like that's the toughest. Whatever you start in your life, whatever business, or, for us, for example, property development, once you start is the hardest part, because like Daniel mentioned, until you make the connections, until you find your good builders, you're gonna go through such a shitstorm before, you can actually say, oh, okay, now we have a great team in place. Now we are working on our fourth project that is flying through, is being in an amazing, condition, and the builders are working, and we have a great relationship, and everyone is aligned on the dates and everything else. Where before that, everything gets so delayed. You just learn the hard way at the beginning, and people never really takes you seriously when you start. So it really takes the time to build that relationship with your brokers, with your solicitors, with your builders, with anyone in this industry.
The other thing that we learned is when we started off with our first project, we bought on purpose a cheaper project, because we had a mindset of, hey, because it's cheap, we don't have to have that much money available. But now as we progressing through the years with the business, we're getting bigger projects because we have that confidence of we can raise the money, we can get the money sorted for this project with a bridge and for investors, etc. And also when people, they see what you're doing, they're quite amazed by it, right? Especially when you're serious and you share it online, you share it with the investors. They're like, wow, this is amazing. And yeah, let me invest with you because, you know, it feels now like a safe place to invest, where when you do the first project, it's really the people that know, like, and trust you. That's really the people that you go out to. But over time, you know, like, we're getting now people who are not direct connections, who are interested in investing, which is amazing. And that's what you'll get over time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like Daniel mentioned, you know, I think for a lot of people, the scariest part is raising the finance. And of course, maybe for the first project, it will be the hardest because you have to prove yourself to someone. But then, you know, once you have the track record of your numbers, you can see this is how much I bought it, I renovated, this is how much it's been valued, I paid my investors. You gain the trust of people and it just becomes easier, like with everything else.
The other thing is when a lot of people, they start, even us, when we start with the first project, is you need to build that confidence, right? You don't know really what to expect. When we started thinking about bridging loans, we were studying it a lot because we just didn't know what we could expect. But in the end, we ended up getting a very good bridging broker who guided us through it. And they still do it, right? They're still teaching us something new with every single project, which is amazing. Same with builders or anything that you do, you will just build that confidence. You will never get that from reading a book or watching a video. You just need to start doing it. And I think that's the most important thing that you should do when you are getting serious about something. Just get your steps in, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because even when it comes to rentals, we were confident because we did our research, but you always have a bit of that doubt at the back of your mind, like thinking, how much of a rent we're gonna achieve it, if actually how fast we're gonna rent the house, you know, is it gonna go fast out of the market, is it gonna stand in the market? And it's just, you know, it's amazing to see the results, and then when everything pays off, you know, that you worked so hard for, it makes you just feel like, I'm so glad we took that step. So like Daniel said, if there is anything you can take out of this video, I always say, like, just start doing whatever you want to be doing.
Yeah, and that confidence will just compound over time. Problems that you think is a problem now is not going to be a problem later. You know, if one room doesn't get rented out, you know, you might stress about it in the beginning, but you know, if you have 100 rooms, then one room, what is one room, right? You'll rent it out anyway. So just keep going, do your best, and you'll get there. Coming back to the numbers that we mentioned at the beginning, so we did finish 27 rooms. We rented them out very easy. So we talked to some other developers, it takes some months to rent them out. We rented out our 9-bedroom within 2 weeks while we were in the final stage of developments. And the whole reason behind it is because we finish the projects like nobody else. We attract the top 1% of the tenants because it's not just a room they get, you get the whole experience with this, right? So everything that we do within the project is to the highest standard, and they can see it when they walk into the house. And that's what they really appreciate, and then they end up, you know, fighting each other who will take the room, which we actually had.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, we just didn't went for the most cheapest standard option that a lot of people thinking about saving money, in the end saving money on a project. I think we went all in thinking what actually can improve the experience of our tenant, you know, what can make it nicer and better. And like Daniel said, not only that we put the highest rent on the street, in the end people were actually fighting over it and, you know, saying, can I go from 800 to 850 rent, you know, give me this room. So yeah, it was like a very nice validation for us to see as well what we are capable of, and, you know, what is possible in general.
Of course, and obviously to get the end result of the top 1% of tenants they attract, you need to spend a bit more money on the renovation. So, you know, a lot of people, they spend like 160,000 on the renovation. We went to, you know, we were around the 200,000 because we added extra care, extra detail to it. But that also means that we can get higher rent. So I'll give you an example. On our street, the average rent was around 680. We got on our first project an average room rent of 730. And that property, because of the higher rent, you get also higher end valuation. So we got a valuation of our first project of 685,000. And then the same house on the same street that we finished a year later, we got a 700,000 valuation. And these are figures that are unheard of. So yeah, that's actually very amazing. So
yeah, and to mention, we actually expected valuation of 600, and we were like, okay, this is the higher end of evaluation. We're expecting 600 after finishing renovation, comparing to the houses on the street. So of course, this is like a huge confident boost as well to get a valuation of 100,000 more than what you actually expected. But you know, the numbers, they reflect themselves. So
yeah, exactly. And I think it's also important to break that mindset that a lot of people have around HMOs. So we had an HMO in Darlington, which we applied for an application to change from 6 bedrooms to 9 bedrooms. We had, 30 objections or so?
Yeah, basically a majority of the street went against us and objected.
Yeah, because they have a very negative mindset around it. They think we're just gonna put a bunch of immigrants in there and you know they're gonna get headache from it. They're gonna put a campfire in the garden and stuff like that. That's not what we do, right? We do everything to the highest standard. The 9-bedroom HMOs, they already require, you know, acoustic performance tests and fire strategies, etc. So we're already doing to the highest level. So yeah, we do put a lot of effort in it, and we're trying to make that change within the HMO space to go from a standard room to the higher end. And you know, once we finished that project in Darlington, the neighbor actually came to us. She's like, "Wow, you actually finished it very nicely," which, you know, we were quite surprised by the response from her. And actually a very good thing. We just got planning approved for our remainder 3 bedrooms. Even though it was rejected, we pushed through it, we got it. And that's another problem that we talked about before, you know, you'll get problems like planning and stuff like that, but you just have to keep pushing through. You get the headache, but in the end, it's worth it. So now we have our 9-bedroom HMO in Darlington approved, which is a great success.
Yeah, it was a very nice end of the year, so beginning of the year, but yeah, it took us actually 12 months to get approved, and yeah. So of course, a lot of you wants to know the numbers, and our 3 finished projects, 3 9-bedroom HMOs are generating us at this moment £20,000 per month, which is net profit £10,000 per month after all the mortgages are paid, all the bills are paid. So we get £10,000 from the 3 properties at this moment.
Yeah, and the 6 projects that are, you know, lined up, one is actually in development, and the other ones are going to be starting very shortly. Once those ones are finished, we'll have another 49 rooms in there, which is amazing because, you know, that will bring us to about 60,000 every single month, and then obviously, you know, half of it will be profit, which is, you know, a monthly income of 30K. That's like crazy. So yeah, very excited about that. And we haven't even talked about the other projects that we'll be acquiring this year because, you know, we have some targets for this year too, and that will bring that number to an even higher number.
So the final takeaway I want to give you from this video is just start. Whatever you have in mind, whatever the goals are, just start, and start now, because you're gonna thank yourself 2 years, 3 years down the line. You're gonna look back and you're gonna be so grateful that you started your journey, because you can read as much as you want, you can learn as much as you want, you can watch as many videos as you want, attend courses, do whatever you want, but until you actually will start, you will never learn all the little bits and mistakes. You know, you will learn your journey once you start walking it and once you start doing it. You're just gonna take something and you're just gonna learn all ins and outs. And I think that's for us was the biggest learning curve.
Lesson, yeah. And a lot of people, they will think that you're crazy. And you have to be a bit delusional, right? I think me and Greta were quite delusional about our goals, which is quite a good thing, in my opinion, because it pushes you further than what other people do. And you know, in the end, listen, if me and Greta can do it, then you can do it too. We have a little daughter, a lot of distractions, you know, which is very nice. But you know, if you don't have a kid or, you know, any other distractions, then you can move even faster than us. So yeah, as I said, if we can do it, you can do it too. Make sure to do it, take that step and go forward.
So thank you so much for watching. We hope you got some value out of this video.
And if you want to see how Lost Project is progressing, then make sure to check out this video here. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next video.